Hi everyone, I'm Jean-Baptiste Avot, Technical Project Manager for Natural Security Alliance, and I'm with Thomas. Thomas, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Thomas Ouëdec from UINT. I'm a product line manager.
Okay, so today we are going to discuss two main topics. The first one concerns the implementation of our solution. We've been talking about the philosophy and the use cases. Now we're going to talk about what it takes to implement such a solution. And the other topic will be about the specifications and the certification process we've been implementing so that when a manufacturer actually develops a product, it can be evaluated so that we can guarantee that it sticks to our requirements in terms of security, for example, and interoperability, and well, I mean, all the natural security requirements. So the first point is about the implementation. I'll try not to be too technical about it. So we have two devices. The first one, which we call the wireless personal device. It can be either a connected object or a smartphone. It needs different things. The first thing, which is in red on the picture, is a secure element, a place where we can put first the biometric template of the user, and then all the cryptographic services needed to work securely. So that's why it's red. It's because it needs to be secure and it's quite important. Another thing that is required is sure a way to communicate with the acceptance device. There are different ways to put such a communication. We've been talking earlier about Bluetooth, for example. That's one way. Not the only one, but that's one way to implement a mid-range wireless protocol. As said earlier by Romain, one interesting thing about the main range is that you can keep your personal device either in your pocket or in your purse. You don't need to manipulate it to make a transaction. It sure is secured. There is a secure channel so that even if there is a man-in-the-middle attack, the person will retrieve such exchange of data, will not be able to do anything with it. And sure, to make it work, we need a power supply for all the processing and the transaction. And on the other part, we have the acceptance device, which also needs, sure, communication interface, service application, also stored in a secure storage, and verification data entry, which is basically a biometric reader, so that the user can put its finger, and so that this data is retrieved via the secure channel to the personal device and checked inside the secure element. That's the main implementation we've been working on. But it stays quite open. If we have partners needing, for example, the biometric reader on the personal device, well, our specification allow them to do that. And also, if they do an NFC or contact communication, well, it's up to them. They can do, even if, well, that's not the philosophy on how natural security developed the specification, but it remains free for our partners depending on the needs. As we've talked earlier, such implementation can be done in both smartphones or dedicated devices. Both have their pros and cons. We've talked about that earlier. I don't think I'm gonna spend too much time on it. One weak point, I think, well, I'm an engineer, I'm working on the technical part. One weak point of the smartphone, according to me, is that we don't really know most of the time how secured is a smartphone. What is the secure element all about inside a device? well, we don't have so much information, so it can be a bit tricky to do a smartphone. One good point about the dedicated device is that we can do what we want, put the security we want, put the communication we need. Well, we can do anything we want. So I'm quite pro dedicated device, even if I do agree that smartphone is something that you have always on you. It doesn't require an extra device to carry. So, well, it all depends on the implementation the partner needs, the security needs, and both have their pros and cons. But well, we've talked about that earlier, so I will now let Thomas show one of the natural security implementation he's been working on.
Thank you, Jean-Baptiste. So I'm Thomas from UINT, and we have implemented the natural security specification into WBME. WBME stands for Wireless Biometric MicroSD. This is WBME, just to remind you the size of a microSD. As I'm talking about microSD, just to remind you what is inside a standard microSD. So a microSD is made of plastic, a very thin PCB. It's a piece of plastic where you will put your electronic component. You have your SD controller to communicate with the computer, the smartphone, with the device where the microSD is inserted. And then you have the memory for the storage, pictures, video, application, etc. So WBME, so you are aware of natural security specification. It is about wireless communication. By wireless, we mean mid-range. It's around 2 meters. As Jean-Baptiste said, the idea is to have your personal devices in your pocket, in your bag, etc. The red part that Jean-Baptiste shown previously is about security. So inside WBME, we will have some security function for the merchant card to compare the stored template, your fingerprint, and then the one which is read on the biometric reader. And the memory storage as a standard microSD where you can still store your application, video, etc. The advantages of the microSD. It is standard. MicroSD is standard for all microSD. You have different size. You have SD, microSD, large SD, but this is standard, and this is very portable. You do not need to recharge it because the microSD takes the power from your device, your computer, your phone, your smartwatch, etc. And it's easy to use. You just have to insert the microSD into your device. You don't need to install an application. So it's very easy to use. It can also be used as a standard microSD. And why this format of a microSD? Banks want to go to the mobile market for developing payment. The issues that banks have is where to go when they want to go to the mobile. Do we go to the application? Do we go to the SIM card? Do we go to the OS? So it's very difficult for them to go to the mobile market. So that's why we have developed the microSD, because banks can sell the microSD, and then the microSD can be inserted in almost any phones or Internet of Things devices. So I will talk about WebMe. What is inside WebMe? So you still have the plastic for the micro SD. You still have your PCB. You have still the SD controller to work with computer, phone, etc. And you have the secure element. Secure element is the core part of the security of the natural security specification, because inside this secure element, you will retrieve your fingerprint template. You will also retrieve your payment information in case of you want to make a payment, but as Romain said, you can have a physical access over application. So all these kind of applications will be stored into the secure element. Thanks to the global platform application, we can manage all the application. You have a wireless transceiver to communicate with the biometric reader. You have the antenna. And still the memory to store pictures, video, application, etc. So all these electronics components is inside this. And this microSD is thinner than 1 millimeter. Everything is inside this. So WebMe, how we WebMe, you can put it in Internet of Things or personal devices like this one. You can put it in your smartphone like a microSD, in smartwatch, in a wristband, in everything that can manage microSD. So WebMe doesn't rely on a specific device. You can put this microSD with my fingerprint template into this one, into Jean-Baptiste phone, etc. All my information is stored here. It's very, very important. So it could be easily swapped, and you do not have to install application onto your smartphone. So it's very easy to use. You just have to plug the microSD into the device. Okay, during the break, I've made a demo. I can do it again later, but I will explain all the different exchange in a very, very simple way, just for you to understand how it works. So on the upper left, you have the POS, the merchant side. On the upper right, you have the biometric reader, and here you have WebMe on the microSD, microSD and the key fob. So the merchant type the amount on the request for a payment. So the information is sent to the biometric reader, and this biometric reader send a request to all the natural security devices which are in the range of 2-3 meters. The user is invited to put its fingerprint. It could be a fingerprint, but as I said, as it was said previously, natural security specification is agnostic regarding the kind of biometric. It could be your fingerprint, it could be your iris, your face, etc. So the user, in this case, put its fingerprint onto the biometric reader. The biometric information is sent through a secure channel. So this is the natural security specification to all the devices. It is encrypted, and it is very technical for this session, so I will not talk about too technical information or too technical security information. Then the fingerprint picture, which is encrypted, so it is sent to all the devices, and then each device is making the match on card. So my template is stored in the secure element. The fingerprint is read from the biometric reader, and it is compared into the secured element. Then, if the match is correct, a new channel is established between the good devices and the biometric reader. And then we can send all your payment information to the biometric reader, who send the information to the POS, who makes the traditional payment process. And that's it. And okay. I give the micro back to Jean-Baptiste.
Yes. To finish with, I'd like to talk about the natural security environment in terms of specifications and evaluation, because sure, to make a device such as Thomas just talked about, you need an environment. So we've made different specifications towards the biometric reader, the devices, so that a vendor can quite easily implement our solution. And plus the natural security specifications are more like a toolbox, and you can use them depending on your needs. It's not just a straight implementation with which would be closed. It's really opened. We also have tools to be sure that the implementation is interoperable and is evaluable, and that you have transparency, and that we can check the security. Well, that's the way the specification have been written. Another point concerns the different tools. We have test tools. That's quite important to us. We are sticking to the payment word tools and specifications in terms of in order to stick to the payments requirements, so that we're sure we can address the payment implementation to the retailers, for example. Retailers are a good example of payment implementation. And sure, all those specs and tools are sticking to the natural security philosophy and what matters to us, which are privacy, no database, no tracking, and respect of the personal data. So for the specification, here are examples of what we've been editing. So sure, the personal device specification, the communication between the two devices specification, the acceptance device specification, other specification towards the way to transmit data, and a more high-level specifications so that partners can introduce themselves to the technology quite easily. A big point is the certification ecosystem. We have partners. The list is over there. Some of our partners are certification laboratories, as I said earlier, specialized in payments. So that they are used to evaluate cards and point of sales. So that's the partners we are working with to be sure to stick to the payment word requirements. So that's it. So that the vendor gets the specifications and the requirements from natural security. And goes to the lab to evaluate the product, and the lab is aware of our requirements. And sure, the test plans and test tools we have developed are wide open to cover all the natural security use cases. So that's it, and that's up and running. I mean, we've been working with such laboratories for the past few years, and now everything is up and running. We are, for example, working with Edit, which is a laboratory in France, and UL, which is in the UK. Okay, well, here is to give you examples of some of our partners and what they do within the alliance. So as I said, Elite and UL for the test laboratories, different vendors, Thomas is here. We also have a certification body, which is PCERT, and it's a third party which analyzes the lab results and then send them to Natural Security, which approves or not the product to be compliant with our requirements. And yeah, very, very practically, the two main tools we've developed with the labs are the personal device plans and tool and the acceptance device side of plans and tools. So as I said, it's up and running. So if today or tomorrow there is a vendor having a product that needs to be evaluated, there's no worry. Everything is running. The plans and tools, all the ecosystems, all the process, and so we are already ready for a wide spread of our products. And I think that's about it for me. Do you have any questions?
We can do a demo if you want, just next to the door.
Yeah, and feel free to come back to me if you have any question. Thanks.